Good morning. I just watched the Truth Dig debate between Sam Harris and Chris Hedges. It was a great debate. I really enjoyed it. I think Mr. Hedges made some very good points, and as usual, Mr. Harris defended his positions well. In terms of the way the debate was laid out saying that religion, politics, and the future basically was what the debate was about. In that kind of infrastructure, if you will, Mr. Harris won the debate. The way most people that tuned into that debate wanted to hear a classical debate between an atheist and a believer, he won the debate. There was a few criticisms I had of his tactics, and he's very tactical. He's very strategic. And in the classical sense, I think he won. Now, in the real sense of the message that was out there, in the power of the message, I think Mr. Hedges won. Because his message was very powerful. What he had to say was very powerful. Mr. Hedges' father was a Presbyterian minister, and he's a real person. He's a real fighter. He is not an intellectual like Mr. Harris is. He's a real fighter, a real person. He's been out in the battle. He has been captured. He has been kidnapped. He has been in a situation for a week that he didn't know whether he was going to live and die. He has been tortured. Mr. Harris has had none of those things. He has standing. He has gravitas, if you will. Now, I'm not saying that Mr. Harris, is some sort of lesser person because he hasn't had those experiences. That's not what I mean. I'm just saying that those experiences made Mr. Hedges a very powerful speaker for his beliefs. Now, the one thing that I want to point out is if you had either one of those people going to the churches that I grew up in and the churches that I've been in and the religion that I grew up in, they would both be considered pariahs. They would both be considered heretics. If they were both around 500 years ago espousing their views, they would be burned at the stake. They were both outside the mainstream of American life. Both of them. Both of them do not represent American values that I know. Mr. Harris is a progressive, but he is not an Obama acolyte. He is not a lover of Obanism. And that's what most of the progressives that I have come in contact, that's why I no longer consider myself a progressive anymore. I'm no longer a progressive because I got to know progressives, and all they want to do is sit around and complain about Senator Cruz, and they want to talk about how great Obama is. And I don't see it that way. And I don't think that Mr. Hedges is that way. Mr. Hedges is a real person. Now, I want to leave you with this. The issue that was fleshed out and discussed was mentioned in Mr. Hedges' beginning of the debate, where he talked about the religion of death. He specifically talked about the religion of death. He didn't say death cult. He didn't say any of that. He just alluded to that. And then the moderator, Mr. Shearer, alluded to that when he was talking about all the different aspects of death and all the killing that had been going on and all the killing that had happened. The moderator specifically mentioned Dresden, which Mr. Kurt Vonnegut was there at Dresden when it happened. He happened to survive. He saw it with his own eyes. He saw the death cult, if you will, in action. Mr. Vonnegut, he saw it. And Mr. Shearer, being a man of wisdom, he addressed it. And I think Mr. Shearer, in his first questioning, went after Hedges for not getting in the debate, and he pulled him back in line. And I think the rest of the time, he did spend the time attacking Mr. Harris. I know my son, Nicholas, who saw the debate, said that it seemed like that Harris was debating two people. So that might be true. A lot of y'all may come to that conclusion. I see that. But Mr. Harris never addressed this whole death cult issue. He never addressed the reason why good supposedly good politicians, supposedly people who are Christians, have this belief and have this practice of killing millions of innocent people. Why they're doing it. That was never addressed. He alluded to briefly, he was asked directly about it, and he said, well, blah, 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 blah. And then he immediately went and attacked suicide bombers again. He just kind of alluded to it, talked about it a little bit, and then moved on. Attacking, making his own point, where he's a debaterator, to paraphrase something that my favorite President W would say, what George W. Bush would say. I love George W. Bush because, he's a really smart guy, but when you see him speak, he makes you feel smart. That's what I like about him. I love the guy. I don't take any of that stuff seriously because the presidents have a job to do, and I don't know what that job is. So I don't judge him, but that's a whole other point. But yeah, he was just a debaterator where Mr. Hedges was actually a person who had a point, who had an issue, who had a vision, if you will. Now, both of these people, I think they do agree that they want religion to change, and they both acknowledge the idea that we need a belief system that addresses this mystery and addresses death and addresses these issues, so we're not running around terrified. Those things weren't fleshed out very well. I think Mr. Hedges was more passionate, more preachy, if you will. Had a lot of firepower. I enjoyed it very much. I enjoyed what he come about. I just don't think he fleshed out this whole idea of death, and I don't think he fleshed out the reason why we're doing all these violent altercations all over the world. And these things are happening. I don't think that was really, maybe he can't. Maybe we can't have that debate. I don't know. But it's a very good place to start. It was a very good debate. I think both men did very well. I think from a classical sense, Harris won the debate. But from a real sense of that vision thing, as the original President Bush said, the vision thing, I think Hedges won. So this video will probably leave everybody dissatisfied, and I guess that's what I like. Bye.